Okay, so I want you to picture a business plan for a second.
Right.
Like capital B, capital P. When I say that phrase today, in 2026, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, it's immediate. I mean, I see a pitch deck,
Yeah.
probably designed in Figma or Canva, you know, 20 sleek slides, an hour mission statement in a nice sans serif font,
Exactly.
and a slide with a hockey stick graph showing revenue projections that are, let's be honest, completely made up.
Right, and maybe like a SWOT analysis in the appendix that literally nobody's ever going to read.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic of legitimacy. We've totally trained ourselves to believe that a good business starts with good graphic design.
It's so true. It's polished, it's digital. But the artifact, and I'm using that word specifically here, the artifact, at the center of today's deep dive is, well, it's a single sheet of paper.
Just one sheet?
One sheet. It's physical, it's battered, and it was not written in a WeWork or some artisanal coffee shop in Silicon Valley.
No.
It was written 12, maybe 13 years ago inside a prison cell.
That is just such a violent context shift.
Yeah.
It completely strips away the performative aspect of entrepreneurship. Because when you're writing a business plan in a cell, you aren't trying to impress some venture capitalist on Sand Hill Road.
No, you're just trying to figure out how to survive.
Exactly.
So today we are diving deep into the story of Hair Maiden India. And if you walk past this business in West Los Angeles today, you just see a high-end boutique hair extension shop.
You see success.
Right. You think, oh, wow, they made it. But underneath that sleek storefront is a story that defies literally every MBA textbook I have ever read.
Completely.
It is a raw, brutal, and frankly kind of terrifying case study on resilience, the dark side of the hustle, and the collision between mental health and entrepreneurship.
And I think we need to be really clear right up front about our source material today.
Let's do that.
Because we aren't analyzing a retrospective memoir here. You know, one of those books written 10 years later when the founder is safe and rich and the story's all smoothed out.
Right, with a ghostwriter.
Exactly. We are looking at a raw, completely unscripted live stream transcript from the founder, a guy named Rocky. And this recording is from March 3rd, 2026.
Just a few days ago.
Very fresh. And that matters because he isn't just telling war stories from the past. He is reacting to the world right now.
Yeah.
He's talking about current trade policies, the specific political climate, and his own very recent, extremely fragile recovery.
So the mission of this deep dive is to trace that arc. We're going to go from illicit trade, and I mean literally selling cocaine, to legitimate trade.
It's quite the pivot.
It really is. We're going to look at the grueling reality of establishing a foothold in LA, and then we're going to spend a lot of time on the crash. Because this guy didn't just burn out, he imploded.
He hit the absolute bottom, and the recovery from that implosion required him to completely rethink what business actually means to him. It's a fascinating trajectory.
So let's go back. Let's start in the cell. Rocky is super open about his past in this video. He explicitly mentions his involvement in gun violence, robbery, fighting, and selling cocaine.
He calls it living the wrong life.
The wrong life, yeah.
It's a phrase you hear a lot, but let's actually look at the mechanics of that life for a second. He wasn't just a petty thief.
Yeah.
He was involved in high-stakes, high-risk, illicit logistics.
He actually says there were times he could have lost his life or accidentally taken someone else's. And then he says, and this is wild, he says, I'm not proud of it, but I am happy that I went through that because it brought me to who I am.
That's a really heavy paradox to hold.
It is.
But from a psychological perspective, it makes a lot of sense. He's talking about the formation of a very specific type of resilience. But the detail that really caught my attention in the source material is what he was doing inside.
Right, while he was locked up.
Yeah. While he's in that environment, totally surrounded by chaos, he wasn't just lifting weights in the yard. He was functioning as a GED teacher and a prison lawyer.
A prison lawyer. I just love that term.
It's a real phenomenon in the system. He mentions writing motions to get 2 people released from prison early. Now I want you to stop and think about the cognitive load required to do that.
That's right, because you can't just Google how to write a legal motion in there.
Exactly. You have no internet. You have to understand the penal code. You have to understand the bureaucratic procedure of the courts. You have to construct a logical argument, and you have to be persuasive in writing.
Wow.
This is extremely high-level executive functioning.
Okay, executive functioning. We hear that term a lot in corporate settings. Break that down for us in this context.
Sure. So it's basically the brain's management system. It handles planning, working memory, multitasking, emotional control. Criminologists have actually studied this for years.
Real.
Oh, yeah. Many high-level offenders, the people running complex drug operations, they often possess off-the-charts executive functioning. They just lack the opportunity or the moral framework to apply it legally.
So Rocky is sitting in a cell, essentially acting as the CEO of his own legal defense firm inside the walls.
Right. And this brings us to this great concept of transferable skills. We usually talk about this when someone moves from, say, a marketing department to a sales department.
Sure.
But Rocky moved from cocaine to hair.
A slightly different jump.
Just a bit. The product changed, but the logistics, they are remarkably similar.
How so? Like, how does that overlap?
Well, think about it. Both of them require securing a reliable international supply chain. Both require navigating massive amounts of risk. Both require understanding street-level demand.
Oh, I see.
And both require managing cash flow in a highly volatile environment. The brain that ran the drug trade is the exact same brain that wrote the legal motions.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same brain that built Hair Maiden India. He just needed to switch the commodity variable in the equation.
But he still needed the spark.
Right.
A brain without an idea is just an engine revving in neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea for this multi-million-dollar business came from
A smuggled cell phone.
a contraband cell phone, which just highlights the risk tolerance we were just talking about. So his friend in prison is on this illegal phone, calling his girlfriend on the outside. And the girlfriend is just venting. She's complaining about her hair extensions.
A seemingly trivial complaint that sparked an empire.
She says the Chinese folks controlling the market are taking advantage of them. She's paying high prices for bad quality. She feels totally exploited.
We should definitely pause on that specific complaint because it reveals the macro market dynamics of the early 2010s. At that time, the global hair extension market was largely dominated by Chinese exports.
And why was that a problem for the consumer in LA?
It came down to authenticity and quality. A lot of that hair was heavily processed, sometimes mixed with synthetic fibers or even treated with acid to make it look healthy when it really wasn't.
Yeah, Griggs.
Yeah, so the girlfriend's complaint was fundamentally about value. She felt like she was paying a premium price but getting a cheap commodity product. She felt the suppliers just didn't respect the customer base.
And then she drops the line that changes Rocky's entire life.
Mhm.
She tells her boyfriend, hey, your friend Rocky's Indian. Tell him to go to India and hook us up.
That is the big aha moment. In business school, we call this a structural advantage or a moat.
A moat.
Yeah. Rocky had a cultural bridge that his competitors simply didn't have. He was Indian. He could bypass the middlemen and go straight to the source. He could connect the black community in LA, which was the massive demand, with the temples in India, the supply.
And do it in a way that felt authentic.
Exactly.
So he sits down and writes that one-page plan. And in the video we're analyzing, he actually holds it up to the camera. It's this battered old piece of paper. And the plan wasn't some complex SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
It was basically, ask cousins to find hair.
It's so charmingly naive.
Hey, cousin, go grab some hair for me.
Right, but that naivety is actually crucial here. He admits in the live stream that he had absolutely no idea that hair tonsuring was a massive, highly regulated industry.
He thought it was just a family favor.
He really did. He thought he could just call in a favor. If he had known the truth that he was about to try and break into a billion-dollar, highly guarded international trade network, he probably would have quit before he even started.
Ignorance is bliss, or at least ignorance is fuel.
Exactly. Sometimes knowing too much paralyzes you as an entrepreneur. He knew just enough to get started.
So let's fast forward a bit. He gets out of prison, he separates from his ex-wife, he lands in Los Angeles. And this is the part where the movie version of his life would cut to a fun montage of him renting a cool industrial loft and hiring a quirky team of misfits.
The whole social network montage.
Right. But the reality, he lands in LA and he has a minivan.
And he's not using it for deliveries?
No, he's living in it.
Oh, yeah.
He's sleeping in the minivan. He's driving around to the Century City Mall, the Westfield Mall, Fox Hills.
Yeah.
He's literally popping the trunk in the parking lot and hustling hair out of the back.
This is the hustle, completely stripped of all its glamour. We love to romanticize the garage startup culture, right? Like Hewlett-Packard or Amazon. Right.
The myth of the garage.
But a garage implies you have a house attached to it. Rocky didn't have a garage. He was unhoused.
And it gets pretty grim from there. He eventually upgrades, you can even call it an upgrade from the minivan to a tire warehouse right behind the LAX airport.
A tire warehouse. I mean, just imagine the sensory environment of that. The overwhelming smell of rubber, the dust everywhere, the noise of commercial jets taking off overhead every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It is a profoundly hostile environment for a human being to try and build a life in.
And the relationship dynamics there are super fascinating too. He says the guy who owned the warehouse and let him stay there actually screwed him over in business, lied to him, was a total scoundrel. But Rocky says on a tape, I'm still grateful to him.
That is a profound statement on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you are at the absolute bottom, when your primary concerns are just shelter and physical safety, the person who provides a roof over your head is a savior.
Regardless of what they do during the day.
Right. Regardless of their moral character in business. Rocky simply couldn't afford the luxury of judging this man's ethics at that point in his life. He needed a place to sleep.
And he's brutally honest about his own state during this early phase. He says his clients could probably smell alcohol and weed on him when he was making sales. He was self-medicating. He was messy.
He was coping with severe trauma.
But, and this is the absolute key to his early success, he says they bought the product anyway because they saw the realness in his eyes.
I want to push back on that slightly, or at least dig a little deeper into what realness means here. I don't think they just saw realness. I think they saw desperation perfectly aligned with purpose.
Okay, what's the difference between those two?
Well, desperation all by itself usually scares customers away. It feels predatory, like you're just trying to extract money from them.
Right. Nobody wants to buy from someone who's just begging.
Exactly. But Rocky mentions he was doing this to build a stable life, to have a family, to do something strictly legal after years of the wrong life. That creates a completely different frequency.
That makes sense.
Customers can sense when you are selling to survive and transform versus selling just to get rich quick.
Yeah.
There's a deep vulnerability there. He looked these women in the eye, smelling like a tire warehouse, and said, "This is good hair, and I stand behind it."
Yeah.
In a market that was full of faceless, polished scams, his roughness was actually a verification of his authenticity.
That's a really interesting point. The flaw became the feature. He wasn't hiding who he was at all.
And he had to overcome a massive credibility gap to do this. He even jokes about it in the video, saying, "I'm a grown-ass man that gets a haircut once a month."
Right.
Why should these women trust him with their beauty and their money? He had to prove he respected the product more than anyone else.
And to prove that, he went straight to the source. Let's talk about the India side of the supply chain. This is where we need to get a bit technical, because the listener critique we got pointed out that we often gloss over the actual mechanics of these businesses.
Yeah, we shouldn't skip this.
He didn't just call the cousins like the plan said. He went to the temples in India. He mentions 30,000 people a day donating hair.
30,000 a day. So let's explain what this actually is, because a lot of people don't know. This isn't a massive barbershop operation. This is a profound religious ceremony called Mundan, or tonsuring.
Okay, Mundan? What exactly is the context for that?
It's an act of surrendering one's ego to the deity. In temples like Tirumala Venkateswara in southern India, pilgrims, we're talking men, women, and children, they shave their heads entirely as an offering.
Wow.
It's often done in gratitude for a prayer answered or a wish granted. It is deeply, deeply spiritual for the people participating.
So you have 30,000 people a day shaving their heads out of religious devotion. That creates a massive amount of biological material.
Correct. And for a long time in history, this was just treated as waste. It was burned or thrown into the rivers. But eventually, the temple administrators realized they were sitting on black gold.
The demand was out there.
Right. They started auctioning the rights to collect and export this hair to fund the temples.
So Rocky is entering a market where he suddenly has to bid against massive global conglomerates. He's just a guy with a minivan.
Exactly. He is walking into a highly sophisticated, multi-million-dollar auction system. And the reason this temple hair is so intensely valuable and why Rocky's whole business model actually worked is because of the cuticle.
The cuticle?
Yes, the outer layer of the hair shaft. I want you to think of it like fish scales or shingles on a roof.
Okay.
In temple hair, because the hair is shaved directly off the head and collected in a single bound ponytail, all those cuticles are facing the exact same direction, root to tip. This is what the industry calls Remy hair.
And why does that matter so much to the woman in West LA buying the extensions?
It's all about friction. If you just sweep hair off a salon floor and mix it all up, some roots facing up, some roots facing down, those microscopic cuticles catch on each other like Velcro.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It is. The hair mats entangled instantly. It becomes unwearable. So to fix that, the mass market factories, like the ones the girlfriend was complaining about, they bathe the mixed hair in a vat of acid.
Wait, acid.
Yes, acid. They use it to strip the cuticle layer off entirely. Then they coat the raw, damaged hair in silicone to make it look shiny and healthy again in the package.
That sounds incredibly chemical.
Because it is. And it looks great for about 3 days. But then the silicone washes off in the shower and you are left with a literal bird's nest on your head.
Right.
Rocky was importing raw hair, cuticles intact, no acid baths, no silicone coatings. That is a massive technical distinction that totally justified his premium price point and built his solid reputation.
So he's bringing this high-quality raw product back to LA. He's doing the trade show circuit he mentions, doing 10 trade shows a year. He's literally walking the streets of West LA with a backpack and 2 suitcases full of hair.
A physical grind.
Yeah, he even talks about giving hair away for free to influencers or just doing collaborations just to make friends because he was so lonely.
It's the extrovert's ultimate survival strategy. He says it right in the tape. If it wasn't for other humans, I definitely wouldn't make it. He basically built the business by forcefully building a community around himself.
But then, and this is where the story takes a very dark turn, the bill comes to. You can only run your body and your business on adrenaline, weed, and unresolved trauma for so long.
Yeah, the success trap. He finally made it. He had the beautiful West LA store. He had the high-end clients. But his internal infrastructure was completely crumbling.
He casually calls it getting tired of LA in the video, but that is a massive euphemism. The timeline is really important to establish here. We're looking at late 2025, early 2026, roughly 90 to 95 days prior to him recording this live stream.
He hit rock bottom, and he does not use that term lightly at all. He explicitly talks about experiencing suicidal ideation. He says to his audience that he was that close to losing his life.
And this is where the story pivots from a standard business case study to a deep mental health case study. Because his first reaction to this existential crisis was so distinctly American.
He tried to procure a solution.
He tried to buy his way out of depression. I have the actual list he read off here. He says he was spending $6,000 a month on coaches.
$6,000.
Every single month.
That is a mortgage payment on a very nice house.
Just listen to this roster. He had a breathwork coach, a yoga coach, two separate meditation coaches, online therapy, in-person therapy, and a somatic healing coach.
Okay, we really need to unpack this list because it is symptomatic of a very specific, modern, entrepreneurial mindset.
First off, though, for people who don't know, what is somatic healing?
Sure, so somatic therapy focuses directly on the body. The foundational idea is that trauma gets trapped in the nervous system, not just in the conscious mind.
Right.
So instead of just doing talk therapy, you do physical movements, breathing, shaking, physical release exercises to get the trauma out of your tissues. It's a very legitimate field of science.
But having a somatic coach, 2 meditation coaches at the same time.
Right. It's the executive function approach applied to the human soul. He treated his severe depression like it was a supply chain bottleneck.
I have a bottleneck in happiness.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just hire a consultant to fix the bottleneck.
Precisely. In clinical psychology, we sometimes refer to this as the help-seeking trap. You become so utterly obsessed with the process of healing, going to all the appointments, tracking the hours, paying the expensive gurus, that you actually avoid doing the quiet, painful work of healing.
It becomes a performance, a full-time job.
And look at his schedule. If you have yoga at 8 a.m., therapy at 10 a.m., and somatic healing at 2 p.m., when are you actually living your life? You've turned your recovery into a grueling task list.
Yeah.
And the most damning part of all of this, the part where he really calls himself out, he admits that in between all these expensive wellness sessions, he was still smoking weed all day and drinking.
So he's meditating with a coach and then getting high, then going to therapy and then drinking.
It is a complete zero-sum game. You simply cannot meditate your way out of an active substance abuse problem if you aren't actually sober.
No.
He was using the wellness coaches to offset the damage of the drugs and using the drugs to numb the heavy emotions that the coaches were digging up. It was just a very expensive, very dangerous hamster wheel.
And to his credit, he realized it wasn't working. He says in the video, it helped a little bit, but I'm still not good. So he finally pulled the ripcord. He left LA completely.
The geographic cure. Usually, therapists will strongly warn against this. There's that old saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Right. You can't run from yourself.
But in Rocky's specific case, he absolutely needed to physically remove himself from the environmental triggers of Los Angeles. So he went to Southeast Asia. He mentions Thailand, Bali, India.
He even drops a mention of the same to the different T-shirt, which is such a classic Thailand backpacker reference. But for him, this wasn't just a vacation. It was a lifeline. He got into a program, a serious fellowship.
And this is the crucial turning point.
Oh.
He stopped paying professional coaches to fix him, and he started finding mentors who understood him.
Cool.
Yeah, he specifically mentions guys like Mr. Jimmy and young Jeremy in Florida. These weren't service providers charging him $200 an hour. These were peers in recovery who had walked the exact same dark path.
And he finally got sober.
Mhm.
He is incredibly hard on marijuana in this recording, like very blunt about it. He says, weed ain't where it's at. Leave that stuff alone.
For a creative entrepreneur operating in Los Angeles in 2026, that is a wildly countercultural statement to make publicly. Weed is practically treated like a daily vitamin in that scene.
It really is.
But he realized it was acting as a hard ceiling on his potential. It was keeping him trapped in the street hustler mindset and preventing him from maturing into the CEO he needed to be.
Now, here is the part of the story that I found most interesting from a pure tech and operations perspective. While he was away in Thailand and Bali, doing all this deep internal work and fixing his head, the business in LA still had to run.
Right, the rent is still due.
Exactly. He's a solo founder, essentially. He can't just permanently lock the doors. So what does he do to handle the phones while he's in a different time zone? He installs AI agents.
Ah, yes. The absolute holy grail of 2026 business advice. Automate everything. Use AI to scale yourself infinitely.
And it was an unmitigated disaster.
It's a total operational failure.
He says, my clients hated it.
Yeah.
And he's totally honest. He says, I hate it too. When an AI person calls me, I hang up immediately. Now, I want you to play devil's advocate here for a minute. The AI voice technology we have right now in 2026 is incredible. It sounds perfectly human. It can access the real-time inventory database. It never sleeps. Why did it fail so spectacularly for him?
It didn't fail because of the underlying technology. The tech is fine. It failed because of the core psychology of the transaction.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Think carefully about what he is actually selling in that store. He isn't selling a kitchen toaster. He isn't selling a monthly software subscription. He is selling very high-end premium hair extensions. This is a product deeply, deeply tied to a woman's core identity, her self-esteem, her armor, as we called it earlier. And it's an expensive purchase.
That's a high-trust purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When a regular customer calls Hair Maiden India, they aren't just asking a logistical question like, do you have 20-inch curly in stock? They're implicitly asking an emotional question. Will this make me look beautiful? Do you understand what I need? Can I trust you with my physical appearance?
And an AI just can't do that.
An AI absolutely cannot provide that level of emotional validation. It is the uncanny valley of sales. The more the AI voice tries to sound empathetic and human, the more hollow and creepy it feels to the customer in a high-stakes emotional purchase.
So the efficiency he gained was actually the enemy of the business.
In high-end luxury retail, yes, 100%. The friction, the actual time it takes to wait for a human, to hear Rocky's real voice on the line, to hear him say, yeah, I got you, that friction is actually a feature of the product. It builds the bond. When he removed himself with the AI, he removed the safety net for his customers.
So he comes back from Asia. He fires the AI agents. He starts picking up the phone himself again. He tells his audience, the shop is open. I'm back. I'm here.
A total return to the manual transmission of business.
But he is fundamentally not the same guy who left.
Yeah.
He's back in LA, but the business model is pivoting right along with his personal growth. This brings us to section 6 of our outline, the future outlook. It's March 2026. If you walk into that store today, the inventory on the shelves has completely changed.
It's definitely not just bundles of hair anymore. He lists off this whole new product line: collagens, mushroom coffee, high-end shampoos, conditioners, wellness gummies, skincare, specialized soaps, and lotions.
It honestly sounds like a boutique pharmacy now.
It sounds exactly like a high-end wellness center, and this is a totally brilliant, if somewhat risky, pivot for him. He is intentionally aligning his physical product line with his new personal identity.
Right.
He is totally obsessed with inner work and holistic health now, so he is stocking products that reflect that journey. He's trying to move his customer base from focusing purely on external beauty, the hair, to holistic beauty, the wellness.
But is there a big risk there, like what Wall Street calls diversification, just selling too many unrelated
Oh,
things?
it's a huge risk. The modern wellness market is incredibly saturated right now. Does the world really need another brand of collagen gummy? Probably not.
Yeah, you can get those anywhere.
Exactly. But the real question is, does Rocky's specific loyal audience want a collagen gummy personally recommended and vetted by Rocky? Maybe. He is making a massive bet that his personal brand authority extends far beyond just hair extensions.
He's also having to deal with the realities of the macro world right now. In the video, he mentions they're running a tax season sale, but he drops a very specific warning to his buyers. He says getting the best raw hair is getting rough, and he explicitly blames Trump and all the new policies.
This is where we need to briefly put our economist hats on. We're remaining completely objective here, but he's likely referring to the recent increase in protectionist trade policies and much stricter customs enforcement.
What does that actually look like on the ground for a small raw hair importer in LA?
Well, raw temple hair is a biological product. It's human tissue, essentially. So it falls under the strict jurisdiction of multiple agencies like Fish and Wildlife and, of course, Customs and Border Protection. To import it legally, you need what's called a continuous customs bond. You need very specific, harmonized system codes.
It's highly bureaucratic even on a good day.
It's incredibly bureaucratic. So if a political administration decides to toughen up on international trade, they don't just target huge shipments of steel and aluminum, they slow down absolutely everything.
They check every box.
Right. They increase random inspections. They raise the tariff rates on imported goods. For a massive corporation, that's just a rounding error. But for a small micro business like Rocky's, if a critical shipment of hair sits in a customs warehouse in Long Beach for 3 weeks instead of clearing in 3 days, that absolutely kills his cash flow.
It chokes the business.
Exactly. So he is getting ahead of it. He's telling his customers, buy the inventory now because the geopolitical supply chain is visibly tightening up.
It's a stark reminder that you can meditate all you want, you can be totally zen, but you cannot meditate a shipping container through U.S. Customs.
No, you certainly cannot. You still have to navigate the harsh reality on the ground.
And speaking of navigating, he mentions he's actively looking for help. He wants to hire a manager to take some of the load off, but his hiring criteria have completely changed since his breakdown. He says he wants someone with spiritual alignment over someone who just wants to make money fast.
It's the recovering hustler mindset directly applied to HR.
Is that even legal? Can you put an ad out saying you're hiring for spiritual alignment?
Well, you obviously have to be very careful with the legal wording in a job posting, but in a small business environment, culture fit is literally everything.
Sure.
He has clearly realized the hard way that a high-performing employee who brings toxic energy or bad vibes to the store will ultimately cost him way more in his own mental health than they will ever make him in gross revenue.
Well, that's a shift.
It's a massive shift. He is actively prioritizing the emotional sanctity of his workspace over raw, cutthroat efficiency.
He even gives a really touching shout out to a former employee in the video, a woman named Aquarius, or AQ Carter. She started as an intern for him and is now apparently a CEO of her own company. And he mentions that he flew out for her mother's funeral.
That is the real metric he's using now. Deep loyalty. He wants people around him who will be in the trenches for the long haul. He says in the tape, I have her as a backup.
Yeah.
That's not just an ex-employee. That is a life ally. An automated AI voice agent is never going to fly across the country to attend your mother's funeral.
That is the absolute truth. So as we start bringing this deep dive to a close, let's look at the big picture. What is the ultimate takeaway here? We've just watched a man go from a prison cell writing legal motions, to sleeping in a minivan, to hustling out of a tire warehouse, to running a beautiful storefront, to hitting the absolute brink of suicide and finally finding his way back.
It is a remarkable story of continuous metamorphosis. But through all of those phases, the one anchor has always been the realness.
Your South Indian raw curly.
Exactly. The raw hair itself. It's the physical symbol of his commitment to the truth.
Right.
He never compromised the core product, even when his personal life was entirely falling apart.
But his internal definition of success has completely shifted. It used to be all about the grind, hustle culture. Now it's all about alignment.
Because he realized that the business simply cannot survive if the founder is fundamentally broken inside. You can't build a sturdy skyscraper on a cracked foundation.
He literally says at the end of the video, I want to be a lot more valuable. And it's so clear he didn't mean his net worth.
No, he didn't mean his bank account. He meant valuable to his community, valuable to his customers, valuable as a healthy human being.
It really makes you question the standard American business narrative. We almost always stop telling the story at the part where they say, and then he made $1 million.
Right. Roll credits.
But Rocky's story actually starts getting real after
Right.
he made the money and realized it wasn't going to fix him.
It's what the writer David Brooks calls the second mountain. The first mountain you climb in life is all about traditional success, status, money, a storefront. But the second mountain is about significance. Rocky is currently climbing the second mountain.
Well, here's a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over as we wrap up. We live in this incredible age of hyper-optimization. We have apps to track our sleep cycles. We have AI writing our emails. We have somatic coaches for our breathing. We're constantly trying to engineer the perfect, frictionless life.
We're basically trying to hack being human.
Exactly. But Rocky spent $72,000 a year on the best wellness hacks LA had to offer, and it didn't work. He tried to use the best AI to hack his customer service, and it totally failed.
Yeah.
The only thing that actually worked to save his life and his business was being present, being sober, being vulnerable, and just picking up the damn phone himself.
In an increasingly synthetic, automated world, unscalable authenticity might just be the ultimate luxury.
Unscalable authenticity. I really like that phrase. I think that is the new competitive advantage for the next decade.
Because it's the only thing left that a computer can't automate.
That's spot on. And that's it for this deep dive into Hair Maiden India, a story about hair that, as it turns out, wasn't really about hair at all.
It never is.
Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you on the next one. Stay real.